week, and the Northwest Warriors will be desperate for him to do the same again today. So, we've certainly got our eyes on players there who have come over, and you mentioned about what they bring. A lot of them have played, they've obviously played in full member countries where they have very well established first-class setups, very professionally run, and they play tough cricket. The other thing about a number of those players is that to get into those teams is extremely tough. They have far more competition for places. There's a huge population of talented players, and therefore they're used to fighting. They're used to making sure that every innings they play, every time they get an opportunity, they take it. And bringing that attitude into our cricket here is really important, and we saw that, as you say, when the likes of Andre Botha and Trent Johnston, Jeremy Bray, Langford Smith, lots of players that have come to Ireland and settled there. They settled. A lot of them have moved away because they've had to find jobs, and those opportunities have been outside of Ireland, but they may well turn up back here one day. But they did create a very different culture.
Yeah, Alex Cusack as well, another great servant of the Irish cause. David Langford Smith, of course, and I think the big thing that they brought, like you said, was they brought a buy-in, they brought a new professionalism to the game. With the additional squad into the List A stuff, does it allow you to keep that balance though with giving the youth opportunities? You see Nathan Maguire, 18 years of age, into the team, young John Matchett making his List A debut today, Ben White, lots of youth floating about, so I presume you're trying to balance that with the experience of some of these foreign guys coming in, joined by the youth here in Ireland.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, we've got a fantastic academy system. We've had a fantastic sponsor in Shipoji Palonji over the last 6-7 years, and that system has been working really, really well. Just giving those players a lot more contact time with key coaches, making sure that we're getting them ready for international cricket, professional cricket, and finding that balance is key. We still want to make sure and be loyal to those players that they get an opportunity as well, but what we need is some competition around it, and so we won't turn down opportunity for somebody overseas coming in, but what you said earlier about them buying into the system here is most important. We're not. What we found has changed a lot since really probably towards the end of John Bracewell's tenure and Graham coming on board.
Just looking at the replay there, real close. Cracker of a delivery from Mark Adair. Just a little bit of lift and raise from back of a length that we haven't seen on this pitch. It's a very good cricket wicket here at Stormont. Good batting from Stuart Thompson, the immediate call, and I think Shane Getgate would have been home even with a direct hit from backward point which couldn't be affected. You spoke about the importance of facilities as well, Richard. This is the best I've ever seen Stormont look.
Yeah, look, I mean, I know that the groundsman here, he's known to many of us here, Phil McCormack, does a fantastic job. He's had a very tough year, as have a lot of groundsmen. A lot of them were furloughed, last winter, and even during the early part of last summer. What that did mean for this particular ground at Stormont is that there wasn't any rugby played. In the best I've seen it in a long time. Looks superb, and you can see the way the ball's travelling along it. It's very smooth. There's no bobbles.
The square itself, which is looking superb.
It is, yeah. And look, I suppose Phil looks after this whole estate. He has a massive job to do, but he's extremely good, extremely conscientious, and
very passionate about his cricket as well.
Hugely passionate about it. And he's put a lot of effort into this, and it's looking wonderful. And we've obviously got some key games with the international men's programme, and in a week's time our women's team playing against Scotland here, so it's looking great for those games.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to you about those women's games in just a little bit, but first just want to bring you a little bit of breaking news. South Africa naming their squad for the Irish series. You may not have seen this yet, Rich, but a 20-man squad. You have the 20-man squad being brought across, and it certainly looks a highly competitive one, as it always will be from the South African point of view. Captain by Temba Bavuma, Quinton de Kock, Heiner Klassen, Sasanda Magala, Janaman Milan, Keshav Maharaj, short ball from Adair, adjudged not to be too short, going to be a dot ball. Aidan Markham, David Miller, Lungi Ngidi, Anrik Norti, and Dila Fulaweko, Kagiso Rabada, Tabray Shamsi, Rassi van der Dussen, who'll be well known to local fans here, played up in the NCU. Carl Verlaine and Lazad Williams into the squad for the first time. No Faf du Plessis, but it looks pretty strong nonetheless, to say the least.
Yeah, hugely strong, and obviously they've got two formats to play, so there's a number of those players that will be focusing on T20, which is the second series. But yeah, very strong squad indeed, and yeah, fantastic. Obviously they've got a good period in the West Indies before they come here, so they'll be well prepared.
And will they predominantly travel directly then from the Caribbean across the Ireland?
They will, yeah, they will, and that's most important from a COVID perspective. It means that they don't have to quarantine as they may have had to do if they were coming directly from South Africa. We do have clearance and exemption for that series to go ahead from both Sport Ireland, Sport Northern Ireland. So the government is very on board with them being here, and that's wonderful. And the COVID restrictions will be somewhat relaxed for them, just because they will be in a bubble. So they'll be very much ferried around from hotel to ground.
Just a change in bowling there. Paul Sterling now to the attack. Ben White's going to have a change of ends. Those three matches against South Africa for the ICC Cricket World Cup Super League, the World Cup qualifiers that they are, the 11th, 13th and 16th of July. Qualifiers that they are, the 11th, 13th and 16th of July. Going to be held at the beautiful Malahide Cricket Ground just north of Dublin. Like you said, Rich, there'll be a bring you the replay of that. We'll come back to that areas down track, picking the gap between cover and mid-off. But Rich, with the difficult period, not just for the country, but for Cricket Ireland over the last year or so, those 6 fixtures against South Africa really bringing the marquee feel back to the summers of cricket that we've had in years past.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, South Africa haven't been here for a very, very long time, and even when they did, you know, like a lot of the teams we were playing 1 or 2 matches, to have 6 matches against South Africa is phenomenal.
Beautifully bowled by Ben White. And no slip in place, so it's going to mean back-to-back boundaries coming off the outside edge. The first slip was in place, that would have been a wicket for White. We've spoken about the captains needing to back their leg spinners. Beautiful bowling.
Difficult one for the keeper, that, but good that he's finding the edge. So no, those games are hugely important for us, and look, obviously things are moving in terms of potential spectators for those matches. We're in talks with Sport Ireland government in the Republic of Ireland around potential spectators for those games down in Dublin, and obviously restrictions are reducing, relaxing up here in the north, and that's fantastic news. And we're not sure what's going to happen, but certainly there'll be hopefully opportunities for some spectators.
Yeah, no official announcements yet.
No.
Some talks of maybe 500 or possibly 1,000 people allowed in at both Malahide and Stormont.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, as you say, talks are ongoing. No formal announcement. There's a lot to work through on all of that. Yeah, the most important thing from our side as a governing body is to make sure that any spectators that we do allow in, we do so in an extremely safe and secure manner. And that means a whole stack of protocols in place. Obviously, we've seen it in the UK recently over the last couple of weeks about attendance at events.
Hit early and taken. Stuart Thompson has hit 10 runs in, of course, 4 deliveries, and unfortunately for him, he's given it away. He was looking so good on 30 not out. He's devastated. Just a little slower through the air from White. He's tempted Thompson into that shot. He's chipped it straight to cover. Innings full of promise and potential from Thompson goes. Score of just 30 from 38 deliveries. Left-hander who no longer a Cricket Ireland contracted player, looking to force his way back in, but Graham Ward has made it clear that he wants big scores. He doesn't want 20s and 30s. And the good news is, William Porterfield is going to come back on to continue his innings. 35 out, he retired ill very briefly, 51 deliveries, but because it was an illness, has he come back out? All Northwest Warriors and Irish fans will be relieved to see that, but Thompson looks so good there, Rich. And really disappointing giving it away.
Yeah, he did. I mean, that's a really important wicket that for the Knights. You know, he looked quite well set, didn't he? He was timing extremely well. Wasted wicket to get out that way. Now look, William looked in very good nick before he went off, retired hurt and retired ill. But he's back in now. He's going to have to play himself back in now, get back into that form fairly quickly, and hope that they can continue to build the total here. But that was an important wicket for the Knights.
Change of bowling, Mark Adair taken out of the attack. They'll hold some overs back. The young Kiwi born Wellington player Luke Georgeson's going to come back into the attack. He opened the bowling today, keeper up to the stumps. Mentioned very briefly there, Richard, those 4 women's T20 internationals. They'll be held on this ground next week, starting on the 23rd of May, this Sunday. We've got games on Sunday, Monday, Wednesday and Thursday, 4 T20 internationals, and one of those is going to start at 11 a.m. That's the final match. All the others starting at 2 p.m.
Sorry, it's actually now 1 p.m.
Oh, thank you, Richard.
There's been a couple of changes for good reason, but they're actually now 1 o'clock start.
The first 3 games.
First 3 games.
The fourth match will remain at 11 a.m.
Correct.
Yeah, the Ireland women just naming their squad a 15-player squad, captained by Laura Delaney. Scotland bringing 14 players across, including the 2-star Bryce sisters. Should be in for a really competitive series. We'll be streaming every single ball of all 4 of those internationals. And if you exclude the men's A internationals, remarkably, it's going to be the first international cricket on this island since all the way back in September 2019.
Correct. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Which is astonishing, really, isn't it? Does seem like a long time ago. But look, thankfully we can get those going. We've tried 3 times to get a series with Scotland in the last sort of 8 months or so. So it's fantastic for the girls that they're going to have a great opportunity there for both sides. A lot to play for. Scotland aren't going to the 50-over World Cup qualifier at the end of the year, but ourselves and the Netherlands are. And then Scotland are due to host the T20 European qualifier at the end of August. So, yeah, these games are massively important for them as well. So it's just great for them to be playing. Again, great for them to qualify at the end of August. So, yeah, these games are important for them as well. So it's just great for them to play. Again, great for them to be playing at Stormont. And hopefully that'll be an opportunity to profile the women's game more up in the north. Some great work going on with the NCU and the Northwest Cricket Union. Operations team at Cricket Island are trying to make that. Operations team at Cricket Island are trying to make that be the icing on the cake for them.
Yeah, that 15-player squad.
Be the icing on the cake for them.
15-player squad. Back into the squad. 4 games in 5 days. Back into the squad. 4 games in 5 days. 700, 800, 900 days or something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will let us know the number as they've been doing over the last few months and even year. But I think it'll be tough for the girls because one of the challenges that the support staff have had, not just for the international teams but for the Interpro teams as well, is players who haven't had much match practice. They might have been training, they might have been in the gyms, But to come back too soon and to be playing that sort of intensity of cricket is quite hard going. So 4 games in 5 days is a lot. But when we put that plan together, it was very much on the basis of actually that's what happens when we go to a qualifier. We quite often have back-to-back games, so it's important that the players get used to tournament cricket, understand that games can come thick and fast. You can have the high of a win and the low and the disappointment of a loss. You've got to bounce back very quickly in tournament cricket. So that's part of the reason that we've chosen for 4 games. Get as much out of the series as we possibly can.
William Porterfield back in, essentially at number 5. He did open the batting. He starts with a sweep shot to Ben White. We've spoken about the South Africa series for the men. Zimbabwe will follow that, but do you want to get your thoughts on this Netherlands series coming up next month? Ireland travelling to Utrecht. Slower through the air that time from White. I heard somewhere that it's a 15-player squad will be allowed to bring, and maybe also allowed to bring also 4 net bowlers. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so the squads are predominantly 15. We can bring more, as you've just mentioned there. South Africa bringing here a squad of 20 players. We can bring more, but that's our expense, which we're not awash with cash, and to take an extra 5 players is expensive. So. And we can't expect the Dutch to pick up that bill. But unfortunately, because of the COVID and the bubble situation,